What's up, motherfuckers? Today we are going to see one of the easiest win of a grandmaster against other grandmaster that I ever seen. This victory of Aleksey Grebnev was like so easy for to be against a other grandmaster. This was in the first round of the World World Cup. Okay, Alexei opened with e4. The Daniel respond with e5. Both players are so young. Alexei have 19 years and Daniel just 19. No, 21. Sorry. Knight f3, and now Daniel goes with the hyper-accelerated dragon. He moves g6, and here Alexei employed one of the most solid moves, and maybe one of the best. I employed that sometimes in the past. The move c3. The idea is simple, just play d4 at the next move. It's like an alapin, but this is a good version of the alapin because, for example, after knight f6, sorry, sorry. Here, c3 in the second move, the alapin is not the best because okay, black can respond or with knight f6 or with d6, 5, sorry. But here c3 have more sense after d6. Okay, here black have two main responses. One was d5, who is the best. That's the best move against c3. And okay, if it takes, queen takes d4. Here with white, if black plays c takes d4, we are going to play just c takes d4, and the knight is developing to c3, who is fine, just develop the pieces like this. And if black plays bishop d7, here we have the idea of knight d2, and it takes now bishop c4, queen d8, knight d4, knight f6, knight to f3, sword castle, queen c7, queen e2. I analyzed one game of Richard Rapport against Benjamin Gledura, but where Gledura in this position, instead of develop the knight to f6, he developed to h6, which was. But okay, let's see the gameplay by Daniel, who is bishop d7, who is fine. The problems came later. After d4 takes. Now black should have played d5. All the life, everybody plays d5. Let's see the database. There are 6,000 games with d5 and 1,000 with d6. But okay, and we see that d5 scores better than d6. But this is obvious, and here the move d6 gives white a spatial advantage in the center with the two central pawns, and it's more or less clear that here white is better. It's clear. So here d5 was the best move, e5. But okay, here white have the advantage. This position is so pleasant for white. But I think that d6 here was worse. But okay, for example, if d5, just e5. If bishop g4 used to be the plan, and now we can just give the latest square bishop at 92 to recapture with the knight on f3. And the huge problem of the position is the d7 bishop of black, who is more or less bad place. But okay, d6, we're going to see the game. d6, not the best move. Here, Grebnev play h3. The idea is can develop the bishop to a3, but especially the idea of the move h3 is avoid bishop g4, who, who used to be the black plan in many lines, bishop g4. And apart, you are avoiding some knight g4s after bishop e3. So h3 very good move. Knight c3 here was possible. Knight c6, bishop e3, or h3, something like this. But okay, I like h3, stopping bishop g4, knight f6. Now knight c3, still with the development. Sword castle, knight e2, knight c6. And here, Grebnev still with the normal moves, with bishop e3, still developing pieces. But here, d5 concretely was stronger. According to the machines, I think that bishop e3 in the practical could be better than d5. Because after bishop e3, typical move was e6. Because the black best move here was d5, with a strength to play d6 and later d5 for a player. For a normal player, the machine play d5 there. But here d5 was the strong move. If knight b4, you can just develop the bishop or go sword castle. If the knight goes back, you can just short castle and later develop the bishop to f4. And if knight d5, we can just take, and now the d7 bishop is close. I suppose that he doesn't play d5 because this move opened the g7 bishop. And okay, of course, he knows that here white still is better, but with bishop e3, looks like white is still having better, who is true. So yes, bishop e3 is a good move. I'm not going to criticize this move. But d5 here was the best response against bishop e3. Okay, can look strange to play d5 into tempos, but it's the best option for black. But apart here, the knight is centered on e4, which, yes, a little bit different than in the previous position, but white is still having the advantage here, per castle. But that's the best black response. e6, this is a passive move. The problem of black position is that here white have all the central space. White have a pawn on e4, a pawn on d4, and black have nothing. Black have the pawns on d6 and on e6 who are have no space. This bishop is blocked, this bishop is blocked, and white have all the space in the center, and white have all his pieces perfectly placed, and black have no counterplay for that. So here white have the advantage, of course. So castle a6, rook c1, and now Daniel made other bad move with king h7. Here looks like black have more important things to do. Like for example, try to develop the c8 bishop. Looks more useful than just move the king. Okay, king h7 is going to be a useful move, of course, but you should try to develop your bishop. For example, b6 here looks like a necessary move to just develop the bishop, or you can play bishop d7 if you want, or a6. For example, bishop d7, yes, looks fine. But the huge problem of king h8 is that now after queen a4, black have not an easy way to develop the bishop because all the time if bishop here, white can play for example queen e3 attacking this pawn and it's so annoying. And if bishop here, maybe knight b5. No, sorry, knight b5 the e5 pawn is hanging. I don't know, but here white is completely winning. You can just still placing the pieces and white is just winning. So and apart b6 is not possible because the knight is hanging. So now we're like white is just winning. You cannot develop the bishop. The queen is going to a3, so white is just winning. a6, and now rook f3-1. And now let's stop and see a moment the position because in only 13 moves, white have a completely winning position. Because yes, all his pieces are development in the best square, and the bishops in the center, aiming to both sides. The knights on f3 on c3, rooks in the center in open files, the queen active on a4, and what black have nothing in this position. It's just yes, white is winning. It's more or less clear that in only 13 moves, Aleksey Grebnev against another grandmaster is just winning in 13 moves. Can look strange, but that's the truth. And he doesn't need he doesn't need to think so much more because the rest of the game was more or less easy. When you place perfectly all your pieces and your opponent have nothing, the rest used to be easier. 97. Now queen e3, very good move. The queen on e4 is not good because could be attacked by the bishop on d7, could be attacked by the pawn on b5. So just placing the queen on a3, nobody can attack the rook, and a pair is putting pressure into the d6 pawn and the a3 f8 diagonal. And now f5 is coming, breaking everything. 98 and just e5, great move. Um, I want that you put focus on the c6 knight because okay, 97. That's the second time that black moved the knight. Well, of course, it's not horrible to move twice a knight in the opening, but okay, we're going to see how many times this knight is going to be moved. I want that you pay attention on that. Queen e3 attacking the pawn, 98 e5 still attacking d6, and now okay, knight f5. Third time that the knight moves, but okay, it's logical because you are placing the knight on f5. That's the only piece that black have more or less active. Okay, bishop f4. I didn't want to trade pieces because I have more special advantage. This is obvious. And when you have more space, you never want to trade pieces. Bishop f4, good move. Here, d5, and now bishop d3, very good move, attacking the knight. And he returned with the knight. That's the fourth time that black moves the b8 knight. Now queen b3, and now it's clear. Let's see the difference between the pieces here. Queen b3 have the idea of playing knight a4. That's why plays queen b3 to play knight a4 and then enter with the queen into with the knight, sorry, or with the queen into b6. But now let's see the difference between the pieces. And white have the rook on all his pieces perfectly placed, and black have all his pieces bad placed. That's simple. Knight c6, now knight a4, following his plan. Knight c6, that's the fifth move of the b8 knight. He go to c6, e7, f5, e7, c6. Okay, fifth time. Knight a4, go into b6, knight a5. Now queen b4, just moving the queen. Now knight a5, the sixth time that white black moves the knight. Still the c8 bishop is still undeveloped, the a rook is still undeveloped. the G7 bishop still yes, misplaced. All the black pieces are misplaced. Queen before. If he returns, we can go now to D2. B5, knight C5. Now having a great square for the knight on C5. Knight C4, that's the, I don't know how many, seventh time that black moves this knight. Queen C3, A5, B3, B4, Queen C2. And now came the last move of the knight, knight A3. Eight moves to place the knight on a3, who is not making nothing. The knight on a3 is trapped. The knight on a3 is simply trapped. But he cannot go to c4, he cannot go to b5, he cannot go to c2, and he cannot go to b1. You made knight b8, knight e7, knight f5, knight e7, knight e6, knight a5, knight c4, knight a3, just to trap yourself knight. And during that time, all of the rest of your pieces are just undeveloped. So let's easy win for white. Now bishop d7, and now I want that you think some moment in this position. Okay, I hope that you find the best move. Of course, here all the moves are winning, all the moves, well, with all the moves you are winning, you are completely winning with all your moves. But the chess is more or less easy with white specifically. You just should place well all, you just should develop and place well all of your pieces, and after you place well of your pieces, you should play 8, and checkmate. So that's what Grebnev made. He had all his pieces perfectly placed, so now 8. Followed by 8 and checkmate. 8, checkmate. Knight c7. Okay, here he traded this knight for this bishop because now black is threatening bishop b5. For example, if we made a careless move, of course he's still winning. Here black can trade pieces with bishop b5. So we didn't want to trade our d3 bishop, of course, because our d3 bishop is a completely beast. So white prefers to trade the very good knight, of course, because the c5 knight is very good, but just because the d3 bishop is so good to attack the black king. So knight d7, d5, and just queen e3, still improving, d5, and finally, when you place all your pieces and your opponent plays bad all of his pieces, just sacrifice. The sacrifice used to work. You doesn't need to calculate so much. Just analyze that the knight is, yes, let's see, the knight is completely misplaced on a3. The rook is misplaced on a8. This knight is misplaced here. Now, black have no pieces defending the king, and white have everything attacking. So this is completely winning. Of course, rook fc8. Now 8-6, 8-7, and after bishop f6, black just resigned. Very good move of very good game of Aleksey Grebnev, and very bad game of Daniel Quizon. No, is Quizon or his surname? Or I great. Yes, Quizon. Yes. Okay, of course, Daniel is a great player, but this wasn't his day, and today he played so bad, and he was completely outplayed by Aleksey Grebnev. So I hope that you learn with this game, and see you in the next videos. Bye bye, motherfuckers.